أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Many things have been discussed the last 7 nights, and we have 3 more nights to go: tonight, Thursday night, and Friday night, inshallah. Hopefully by now you have come to realize that we are joining all the dots together. Nothing that was said was out of context, even though we were coming up with many different examples and things like that, but everything is relevant when you look at it from an outside perspective. Of course, there were many requests for me to be talking about different topics, and that's why at times I had to fall a little bit off track to facilitate for the requests that came from our brothers and sisters to talk about certain things. Ultimately, what each and every single one of us wish to achieve during these holy nights in participating in mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam is to try to gain more awareness of our duty towards our Imams. Imam Al-Hujjah Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajuhu Sharif was asked what would be the best dua for us to recite during the time of your ghaibah, and Imam Al-Hujjah introduced this wonderful dua. I'm very sure all of you have heard of it before. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma arifni nafsak fa innaka in lam tu'arifni nafsak lam a'rif rasulak. Have you heard this dua before? Saying, "Oh Allah, introduce me to yourself. Allow me to become acquainted with you. If I do not become acquainted with you, I will not become acquainted with your Prophet, with your Messenger. Allahumma arifni rasulak, fa innaka in lam tu'arifni rasulak, lam a'rif hujjatak." Oh Allah, introduce me to your Rasul, to your Messenger, because if you don't introduce me to your Messenger, I will not know who your Hujjah is, who your evidence and proof on this earth is, which is of course the A'imma, peace be upon them. Allahumma arifni hujjatak fa innaka in lam tu'arifni hujjatak dalaltu an dini. Oh Allah, make me become acquainted with your Hujjah, with the Imam of that time that we are living in. And if I was not to be acquainted with him, then I will fall astray from religion, from my religion. This is what we want to achieve in these nights. We want to be able to become acquainted with our Imam, with our 12th Imam in particular, who is alive and with us, so much so that we are able to carry on with that legacy of what he would want from us. This is why when we make chants, when we use slogans like Labbaika Ya Hussein, or any other slogan that we would frequently make reference to in these nights, we need to make sure that we truly mean it. Loyalty does not come just from words. Imam Hussein alayhi salam had made reference to people who are very shallow in their tadayyun, in their religiosity. They know about religion, they know the ins and outs of halal and haram. However, deen for them is la'iqun ala alsinatihim. It's like you licking your lip. How quick would that be? This is, for some people, this is exactly what religion is for them. Nothing more than a quick experience of it occurring, coming and going, and nothing else. Of course, we know that as devoted followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, we should not live only on that shallow level. We shouldn't be satisfied with only paddling or swimming on the surface of the ocean or in a small river. We should try to go deep into the depth of the core of the ocean, the core of our religion. And it is only there where we will truly be able to understand the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Just imagine if we were to say that slogan and truly mean it from the bottom of our hearts in every instant of our life, and we say labbaika ya Hussein when we leave our house, when we're at school, when we're dealing with our parents, when we are with other friends, when we're all alone. All of these are tests and exams for us, that are you answering the call of Imam Hussein through your actions, through your mentality, through your behavior, through what it is that you are doing? Have you truly reached that level of being able to proudly say that you are a representative of the Ahlul Bayt school of thoughts, that you have truly acquired that level of loyalty, that level in which Imam Hussein alayhi salam had praised, that level of loyalty where he praised his companions, these same companions who were so blessed to be able to not only be sacrificed along with him, but buried with him. Do we not say continuously, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum fanafuza fawzan azima? If only we were there with you, so we would have also been victorious. Is there victory in death? If death with dignity, then yes, that is the best of deaths. That is the best of lives. And this is why a shaheed is not considered to be dead in that sense. Their memory is alive. Do you remember when I said a coward dies 1,000 deaths a day? All of this we're bringing back to you joining all of these dots together. We're throwing the puzzles and it is you to put all of them together. As far as the akhlaqi madrasa of Imam Hussein, as far as the social applications of how we need to deal with ourselves in today's modern day society, all of them are very relevant, because we don't look at our religion or our imams in an abstractive way, because they won't make any impact on our lives if we consider them to be so elevated that we are never even able to reach them. Do you remember what I said yesterday about us being able to become sinless if we want to? What's on the tip of our tongue to justify our wrongdoings? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We keep on saying that all the time, don't we? Why can't you be perfect? Why can't you stop doing those simple things that are within your capacity? Why do you continue to use that words or that drilling into your mind, I can't do it, I can't that, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. There's a gate in Jahannam, it's called Al-Musawwafin or Lil-Musawwafin, For those who always say, Sofa. What does Sofa mean? Can anyone tell me? No Arabs here? I will. I'm gonna. Right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to improve. I'm going to make a change. The older you get, the more difficult it is for you to make those necessary changes as a devoted follower of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So this is what we need to learn. This is what we need to take back home with us. To be motivated enough to think positive about ourselves. Enough for us to be able to make those necessary adjustments. To leave from tahliyah and enter into tahliyah. And then from there into tajliyah. So I tried to add all of these things together, all within the understanding of the akhlaqi madrasa of Ahlul Bayt, and in particular Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein had said, إِيَّاكَ وَمَا تَعْتَذِرُ مِنْهُ. Be careful of something that you are going to have to apologize for. فَإِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِ لَا يَسِيءُ وَلَا يَعْتَذِرُ. A mu'min doesn't do wrong for them to have to apologize. وَإِنَّ وَالْمُنَافِقُ يُسِيءُ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ وَيَعْتَذِرُ. Whereas a munafiq wrongs every day and says, I'm sorry. Do we not know people who wrong other people and then apologize and make the same mistake and apologize, then make the same mistake and apologize, or make some slightly different mistake and have to apologize about it? Why? Why do you have to do something, as Imam Hussein alayhi salam is saying, why do you have to do something knowing that later on you are going to have to apologize for it? Is it because you have no control over your ghadab, over your anger? This is the animalistic desire that we spoke about a few nights ago. Is it because you have no control over your tongue? This is also something that we spoke about, that the tongue is a two-sided sword. You can use it to say something good, and that's considered as sadaqah. You can also use it to break someone's hearts. And breaking someone's hearts is not like breaking a vase. It's very difficult for you to be able to mend that broken heart. Sometimes a person might not intentionally use harsh words, but words are in cases worse than physical violence in some times, because you would never expect that person to have backstabbed you, that person to have mistreated your kindness, for them to have lost any loyalty towards you. Do we not know people like this, brothers and sisters? They are followers of Ahlul Bayt. They are Shia. They do participate in majalis. Some of them might even be sitting next to you, but yet there is no sense of loyalty or faithfulness or anything else. Who are we tricking? Really? When we say, Labbaika ya Hussein, but yet we do this. When we sit in a majlis and do what we have to, and alhamdulillah, the reward is going to be there. But then we leave, and then the first thing we say is, yeah, did you see that fat girl sitting next to me, how much she stinked? Stunked? Stinked or stunked or stunk? Stunk. Oh, well, look at the sheikh and how big his nose is. Look at this, look at that. Isn't this common? How many of us have been to programs where the sound of the people, unfortunately, sorry to say this, sisters, but it's usually in the women's side, I'm sorry to say this, is louder than the khatib speaking? Why? Where is the points of me and you wanting to truly make that reform, did we not say that the revolution of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was not a military revolution, it was a humanitarian revolution to awaken the hearts, to make the Muslim Ummah realize the plight that they are heading towards. 80% of our deen was buried during the time of Muawiyah, and that led to the time of Yazid. Imam Hussein alayhi salam demanded reform, demanded islah, and this is why he made that very famous statement in summing the whole journey of what it is that he is doing all the way towards Kufa. His journey towards Kufa, where he said that I am not here to enforce myself to be the ruler or to become the governor over anything and rule over anyone. I am only here لطلب الإصلاح في أمتي جدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. This is summing up what it is that he is doing. I am demanding islah, reform in the ummah of my grandfather. I am only here to do amr bil ma'roof wa nahi anil munkar, and for me to carry on with that same path of my grandfather and my father. Nothing more, nothing less. Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not want anything more than that. He did not want no hukuma or no government or anything else. You know the story of Imam Ali alayhi salam, where someone came to him and said, why don't you assume power? Why don't you become the ruler? And Imam Ali salamullahi alayhi, while he was sewing his sandal, he said, the ruling for me is of less value than this sandal that I am sewing. In another place, he said, it's like the aftatu anz, which means it's like the sneezing of a goat, nothing more than that. When we make that connection, we also need to make that connection and apply it to our lives. We talked about prayer. We make that connection. Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Battle of Siffin, he stopped all of the soldiers and said, now it's time for prayer. What's going on, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? What's happening? You're talking about prayer and we're in the middle of the battle. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said, it is for this that we are fighting them. We are fighting these people, these Muslims, in order for us to establish salah. Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta salah wa atayta zakat. Do we not say this in our ziyarah? And this is the exact thing that happened for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Everything rotated around acts of worship. Laylatul Ashura was full of worshipping. Ashura day was full of worshipping. Even at Fajr time, while the enemies were attacking, they performed their prayer. At Dhuhr time, they also performed their prayer. And so, all of this is relevant if we understand the true philosophy of the revolution, the reform, the uprise of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to reform our hearts, for us to realize that we are the people that Imam Hussein is addressing. He is addressing me and you. He's saying, Ya Nas, O people, become awadim, become human beings that are reliable, that are loyal. It's not the matter of there being numbers or anything else. It's what it is that makes you that true person who you are able to proudly say, when you do say it, that you mean it, labbaika ya Hussein. Now, when we come about and understand these tribulations and the seditions, the fitan that A'immatu Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam went through, some of them sometimes we really cannot digest, we can't comprehend that this Imam, Ma'soom, Hujjatullah on his earth, this person of the highest caliber, this individual who was appointed by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa had to go through so much suffering, that they were ghuraba among their own people. Why is it that such a thing was happening? And this is why literally thousands of books have been written about Imam Hussein alayhi salam and everything that led up to Imam Hussein. Do you remember when we mentioned that some of the people in Sham were surprised when they heard of the news of Imam Ali alayhi salam being killed in a masjid, and they asked, what was he doing in the masjid in the first place? He doesn't pray. What's he doing in a masjid? Some people came, some Shia people. Shia means the followers of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. And they said to him, Assalamu alayka ya mudhill al-mu'mineen. What does mudhill mean? Humiliator. So they said to him, Assalamu alayka, O humiliator of the mu'mineen. Your father was Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are Mudhill al-Mu'mineen. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, he said in reply, Wa alayka salam. It's not like he ignored them. And then they had a conversation. Why did they say this? The Shia themselves, because of him accepting the peace treaty with the Mal'oon Muawiyah. Of course, this is that shallow lack of basirah that we have been speaking about. If you don't have insights, if you do not wish to understand different angles and aspects of how you need to deal with situations, then you're not going to get there. Imam Ali sat on the minbar in Kufa and he said, Saluni qabla an tafquduni, ask me before you lose me. People were asking the most pathetic of questions. How many sha'r do I have in my beard? And things like that. And this is what we deal with with most people. They don't want to get deep into knowledge. Yesterday we spoke about sabr. I'm mentioning all of this, brothers and sisters, so you can put these dots together. We spoke about patience and perseverance and management and all of these things. What's the most common question that I am asked? About dreams. Last night I had a dream and this happened to me. Number 2 is from the brother's side, mut'ah. And number 3, tattoos. Ya akhi, you've got nothing more to ask about, really. Everything comes down in your religion. You have an opportunity to be able to speak and ask these questions or that questions that is really going to benefit your akhirah, and you're asking about things that are really irrelevant, things that will not bring about that true improvement that all of us need. And this is why we need to make that reform. I need to be reformed. You need to be reformed. Every single one of us needs to be reformed. These thousands of books that have been written devoted to Imam Hussein alayhi salam were written for a purpose. One of them, for example, unfortunately this book along with most books do not exist in the English language. Al-Khasa'is al-Husayniyah, written by Sheikh Ja'far al-Tustari, also known as Shushtari. And Sheikh Ja'far al-Tustari has a very unique personality. He wrote a book called Al-Khasa'is al-Husayniyah. In this book, Al-Khasa'is al-Husayniyah, he presents the similarities that Imam Hussein alayhi salam has with the Holy Kaaba. And he mentions, I think from what I remember, up to 40 or 50 similarities between the Kaaba and Imam Hussein. He brings about the uniqueness of Imam Hussein in comparison to all other Anbiya or A'imma. When was the last time you read a riwayah, a hadith, about a certain prophet mourning for Imam Hussein? When did you hear a hadith that speak about Manzar al-Hussein, whoever visits Hussein, كأنما, it is like as if they are doing ziyarah, they are visiting Allah in His throne. Are we going overboard? Are we exaggerating? Are we doing ghulu in all of these things? You sit down and you read the abundant amount of ahadith, authenticated ahadith from here and there, and these are heavyweight scholars. They're not no random scholars. Sheikh Ja'far al-Tustari, they came to his mother. This is a little bit off the topic a bit, but it's good for us to know about these things. They came to his mother and they said, so, are you radhi? Are you happy with your son? And she said, no. They said, but look at him. He's a marja' taqleed. He is this, he is that. She said, you do not know the amounts of ta'ab, the amounts of tiring dedication and devotion that I did for the sake of my son prior to his birth, when he got born and in his early infancy. I never touched him without wudu, let alone anything else. And I named him Ja'far because I wanted him to be similar to Ja'far al-Sadiq, but he stayed as Ja'far al-Tustari. This is that ambition that we have been talking about, for you to up that grade a little bit, for you to have more expectations for yourself, for those around you. And this is what any parent wants. A parent pushes their son and daughter. They push them and push them and push them. Sometimes the parent is harsh. Sometimes the parent is extreme. But for what? For your benefits? For their benefit? What's the parent going to do? You're going to ultimately live your own life. Why is it that all of a sudden you do not cooperate with your parents because your parent is too strict? Do we not hear these words very regularly? Oh, my parent is too strict. They don't let me go out and do this and do that and do this. For what? Why? What is the benefit of them being strict on you other than for your own maslahah? And so, with all of these books, these treasures that we have that speak about Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the tragedy and what befell upon him, they are not there only for us to read and not relate to our practical lives. They are there for us to relate to. I mentioned that there is no Imam and no prophet that has not made reference to the importance and significance of mourning for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In some of our acts, in some of the things that we do as Muslims, we do them as a preliminary act for something more important. Like, for example, wudu. Wudu is a preliminary act for salah. You perform wudu in order for you to perform your wajib salah acts. Turning on your alarm is a preliminary act for you waking up for Fajr. You don't turn on the alarm for the purpose of the alarm itself. You don't buy the alarm because you like the alarm and you like to have an alarm. You do it for the sake of something important. So these are wasa'il. They are means for something more important. You want to travel to Hajj, you need to book a plane ticket. You don't sit on that plane for the sake of sitting on the plane. You are there because you want to get to your destination, to your ghaya, to that objective that you want to reach to. When it comes to all of these ahadith that speak about crying and mourning, are they means for us to get to something else, or are they the destination themselves? Are they wasa'il for another ghaya, or is that the ghaya itself? Is that the objective itself? Do I cry because it is a way of me expressing my love for Imam Hussein? Or do I cry because that is the objective that I need to achieve? If we refer back to the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, we can see that crying is not means for something else. Yes, we do get emotional, we do have that tafa'ul, we like to engage with it as well. When someone passes away, you get emotional because of the loss. When it comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, it is not only emotional, but it is ideological. It is something that we do as it is an objective in itself. And this is why it says, every eye will be crying on Judgment Day except for the eye that has cried for Imam Hussein. He who cries, man baka, aw abka, aw tabaka, madmun al-hadith, he who cries or makes someone else cry or acts like they are crying, wajabat lahu al-jannah, then heaven will be wajib for them. Do we mean act like as if you are showing off? No, that's not what we mean. Act as in you putting yourself in that mode of weeping. Act as in you creating that atmosphere within yourself that you are automatically going to be mourning and shedding that tear for Imam Hussein. In another hadith it says, even if it is as small as a wing of an insect, that teardrop that you shed in mourning for Imam Hussein, even if it is as small as the wing of an insect, heaven is going to be wajib for you. So what does this mean? Does this mean that these are means for us expressing our devotion and loyalty to Imam Hussein? Or these are things that are matlubun li dhatih, that are required for itself? Our ulama, they say that these, because of the abundancy of ahadith that speak about them, these are things, this itself is an objective for us to have. And this is why someone who is not able to weep for Imam Hussein, they have lost that tawfiq and success of what it is that they have. We have a hadith that say that a dried eye is dried up because of the excessive sin. Sometimes we weep out of reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or we weep for A'immatu Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. But in particular, Imam Hussein, people express their devotion for Imam Hussein in different ways. We should not hold people accountable for how they express, as long as it's within the perimeters of our religion. Someone says, I'm not really into the lecturing, I like to be a listener. Someone says, I'm not really into the listening, I like to do the matam and latum. Someone says, I'm not really into that sitting down in the masjid or in the Husayniyya crowd, I like to serve by giving foods. Someone says, I like to volunteer in the car park. Someone says, I like to do this. That's fine. Each and every one will receive the shafa'ah of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam based on their niyyah. The more you serve, the more you will be rewarded, inshaAllah. Why? Because it has the flavor of heaven. When you sit down and when you eat for foods, when you eat foods that has the nafas of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in it, don't you feel difference when you have that foods that is made in dedication to Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Does it not taste different? As Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says in reference to the food that comes for a halal purpose, that it has ra'ihatul jannah. And this is how we deal with all of these things. Let's look at a hadith that Imam Al-Ridha alayhi salam has said. Ultimately, Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi has said, Ana qatilul abrah. We can say abrah, we can say ibrah. But abrah means that affectionate grief that we all want to get into. Again, to further support this notion of the necessity of weeping and crying. We need to mention these things, brothers and sisters, because sometimes, a person might, get into the wrong crowd and say, Imam Hussein doesn't want your tears, Imam Hussein wants this, and Imam Hussein, yes, Imam Hussein wants everything. Imam Hussein wants education, Imam Hussein wants lecture, Imam Hussein wants latam, Imam Hussein wants food, Imam Hussein wants volunteering, Imam Hussein wants weeping, Imam Hussein wants writing. Everything that you do, it's within your capacity. And not everyone has the same capacity. Not everyone wants to be a muhandis. Not everyone wants to be a hairdresser. Every person within their capacity does what it is that they are able to. Someone came to Imam Al-Hussein, Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam. We do say buka sometimes. We need to mention these Arabic points. Buka or tabaki means for you to grieve with a voice. Shedding tear, grieving with a voice, making others cry. How many ahadith do we have about this? And this is only one of them. Someone came to Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam wanting to share some poetry as a eulogy for Imam Hussein. And Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam said, stop there. Bring the sitar and allow the women to come. They put a veil and they allowed the women to come. So much so that when he did recite this eulogy in a toned way, in that na'i that we call it way, everyone in that majlis started to cry. Our Anbiya, our A'imma, each and every one of them facilitated for majalis, for mourning Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is why we revive Ashura through weeping. It is the best form of being able to share that spiritual, emotional experience with other people. There is another hadith by Imam Al-Ridha alayhi salam, and I'll finish off with tonight. And he says in a long hadith with one of his companions by the name of Ibn al-Shabib, he says, Ya Ibn al-Shabib, in bakayta an al-Husayn, if you were to cry for al-Husayn, so much so that your dumur, your tears fall down over your cheeks. I'm going to quickly do the English translation. Ghafar Allah, Allah will forgive every sin that you have committed, minor or major, small or large. If you were to wish to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any sin, fazur al-Husayn, then do ziyarah of Husayn. If you want to live in heaven along with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, fal'an qatalatul Husayn, curse, do la'an of, I don't like translating the word la'an to curse because it isn't, do la'an on the killers of Al-Husayn. If you want the rewards, more of that of someone who was martyred along with Husayn, then you should say, along with any time that you remember Imam Husayn, Ya laytani kuntu ma'ahum fa'afuza fawzan azima. Aw yabna shabib, if you want to be with us in the highest level of heaven, then be grievous with us. Fahzun lihuznina wafrah lifarahina, and be happy when we are happy. And you need to make sure that you are in adherence and you have the wilayah for us. And this is the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is why there were so many young people who were martyred on the day of Karbala. People as young as Abil Fadl al-Abbas. Then we have Ali al-Akbar. We have other younger children who were martyred on the day of Karbala. We also have the son of the Mazlum Imam, who was oppressed by his own followers on many occasions, as we mentioned. And his name is Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhimus salam. And tonight, this is the event that we are commemorating, the night of Al-Qasim salamullahi alayhi.